Good morning. I hope all of you are doing fine. Today's topic is energy economics, and we will try to understand few things about energy economics. Let's start. Let's have a quick view over the list of contents. This is how, and these are the topics to which we are going to cover and touch this topic a bit. Let us understand, or let us start with the fundamentals, and here we'll understand what energy economics is. So energy economics uses the tools of economics to analyze the demand and supply of energy. Here the topic covered under economics is energy. So we'll start with the basic part. Try to understand what is the supply and demand scenario of energy. So like any other concept in economics, many basic principles are involved in this analysis, like the law of demand, consumer preferences, elasticity of demand, substitutes in consumption, economies of scale, elasticity of supply, different market structures, etc. Meaning to say that all the basic important laws and principles are being applied under this part of study. Also, there are some unique features like few ideas, and those ideas are unique to the energy markets only, such as the problem of allocating a non-renewable resource between present and future periods. And this is a very, very important part because this is a current challenge and need current attention or analysis. Then it also covers the external cost and benefits part, which plays a big role in energy market and in energy policy. Also, comparison of marginal costs and marginal benefit policy options are being used here for choosing among the possible policies to meet a given objective. So this makes it a little bit exclusive also. Further, now why do we need to study energy economics? See, these energy issues were being analyzed from like a century ago. This is not a new concept, but it was not developed as a specialized branch until a tragedy of the first oil shock in the 1970s. And what happened then? There was a dramatic increase in oil prices in the time slot between the year of 1973 to 74, and that highlighted the importance of energy in economic development of countries, different countries, every country. And since then, researchers, academicians, and even policy makers have taken keen interest in energy studies, and today energy economics has been emerged as a recognized branch on its own. So let's start with the first part. What comprises the demand side here in the energy economics? First of all, as we know, the very first factor to start with is the wishes to use energy to obtain desired services. Like we know where the demand part starts from. It is the wish to obtain certain utility and the ability to afford it too. Similarly here, the wishes to use energy to obtain desired services from it start with the first part. Further, it depends upon other factors also, like cost of energy and technologies used for conversion, availability and properties of energy conversion technologies, those technologies that are going to be used. Of course, demand for desired services. Further, it extends up to preferences for energy services and properties of conversion technologies and cost. See, it is these factors are almost interrelated, because we already talked about availability and properties earlier. So this all comprise the demand side of energy economics, or demand side of the energy. Now obviously the supply side needs to be covered here. So primarily the supply side depends upon few things. First of all, it's the depletable or renewable resources. Now why they are known as depletable or renewable resources? Because their renewal speed is so low that we can view them as made available once and only once by nature. If once they are depleted, their renewable cycle will be so slow that it is almost can be seen as only once available by the nature, because of the long renewable cycle. Few examples are like crude oil, natural gas, coal, uranium, etc. Now further it depends upon it comprise of two main categories here. First is storable resources and another is non-storable resources. So storable resources like wind, solar radiation, or maybe run of the water hydro resources here that can be stored in some form or up to an extent, whereas non-storable resources are like biomass, hydropower and other geothermal resources, etc. So this is what are the main factors here on the supply side of energy that we study under the energy economics. Now these are a few areas that comes under the scope of energy economics. Scope is of course very vast and unlimited, but these are a few which are in which comprise the focal point these days, like climate change and climate policy. That is a huge topic to be covered separately. I need to cover it even separately in a different lecture, because lot much is going on under this these days. Demand response, elasticity of supply and demand in energy market. We just understood a little conceptual part earlier. Then energy and economic growth, energy derivatives, that we'll understand further, energy elasticity, energy forecasting, energy markets and electricity markets with reference to the liberalization or the deregulation period. Then it's economics of energy infrastructure, energy policy, environmental policy, risk analysis and security of supply, and further sustainability, which covers all. So to start with the very first part, like I said earlier, it's a huge topic, climate change and climate policy. We all know what climate change means. It refers to significant or long-term changes in the global climate. One very common example is global warming. Global warming is nothing else but slow increase in the average temperature of the Earth's atmosphere because of an increased amount of energy striking the Earth from the sun, that energy is being trapped in the atmosphere and not radiated out into space. So this is increasing the overall temperature around, known as global warming. It was just an example. Now what energy market is? Like any other market, energy market are commodity market. They are the commodity markets that deal specifically with the trade and supply of energy. Energy market may refer to an electricity market also, but can also refer to other sources of energy also. Typically, energy development is the result of a government creating an energy policy that encourages the development of an energy industry in a competitive manner. So, there were two concepts covered under this. One is energy markets, and another is what energy development is all about. Now to understand what energy derivative are. So an energy derivative is a derivative contract like any other contract that derives its value from the performance of an underlying entity based on or derived from an underlying energy asset such as natural gas, crude oil or electricity. Energy derivatives are exotic derivatives and include exchange traded contracts such as futures and options, and over the counter, that is privately negotiated derivatives such as forwards, swaps and options. Major player in the energy derivative markets include major trading houses, oil companies, utility and financial institution. So this energy derivative concept is like any other derivative contract that can be understood easily, because here the current value derives or depends upon the performance of the underlying entity involved in that. So that is why we are calling it a kind of contract. So this is what energy derivative is. So the next concept is energy elasticity that we studied under the scope of energy economics. What this energy elasticity is, as we know, elasticity is the term used for responsiveness with respect to certain thing. So here its energy elasticity, it is used with reference to energy intensity of gross domestic product GDP. So that is why it is the percentage change in energy consumption to achieve 1% change in national GDP. It is being evaluated with reference to the gross domestic product of a country. How much change does come in the energy consumption in the energy consumption with respect to 1% change in national GDP. Like we discussed earlier also in short, that what energy development covers. Energy development is a field of activities that focused on obtaining sources of energy from natural resources. Now these activities include production of conventional, alternative and renewable sources of energy, and for the recovery and reuse of energy that would otherwise be wasted. So this part focuses on the recovery and reuse, recycling. Energy conservation and efficiency measures reduce the demand for energy development and can have benefits to society with improvements to environmental issues, because they depend on the natural resources, they focus on the conventional production process, and they also focus on the recovery and reuse, reducing the wastage. Now energy, what is energy forecasting? Energy forecasting, like any other forecasting method, includes forecasting demand. In other terms, it's known as the overall load and price of elasticity, fossil fuels like natural gas, oil, coal, etc., and renewable energy sources like hydro, wind, solar resources. Forecasting can be of both the types, like expected price value and probabilistic forecasting. So this was energy forecasting. Further, let us move to another part, which is energy policy, climate change and sustainability, which is of course a very important part. So recent International Energy Agency IEA analysis shows that in 2018 what was the scenario, and depending upon that what is going to be the forthcoming scenarios. India's investment in solar photovoltaics, which is in short PV, was greater than in all fossil fuel sources of electricity generation together. Another point that is highlighted here is that large scale auction these large-scale auctions have contributed to swift renewable energy development at rapidly decreasing prices. By December 2019, India had deployed a total of 84 gigawatt of grid-connected renewable electricity capacity. By comparison, India's total generating capacity reached 366 gigawatt in 2019. So this way India is making progress towards its target of 175 gigawatt of renewables by 2022. Also in September 2019, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, announced that India's electricity mix would eventually include 450 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity. In the current pandemic era, lot much have been changed, but these few points shows a progress and a very good progress. Now, what are the recommendations by the concerned authorities? That progress towards these targets will require a focus on unlocking the flexibility needed for effective system integration, and this can potentially be achieved by improving the design of renewable auctions with clear trajectories and criteria to reflect quality, location and system value, along with measures to foster grid expansion and demand side response across India. Further, India has been addressing energy-related environmental pollution since 1980s, including air, water, land and waste issues. Reducing the health impact of air pollution is a key priority. Over the year, the government has been progressively strengthened rules to combat air pollution and adopted the National Clean Air Program (NCAP) in short, that focuses on monitoring and enforcement. Now, real progress on the ground has been so far limited, with the deadline for the enforcement of stringent air pollution standard for thermal power plants pushed back from 2017 to 2021-22. Because of several reasons, this was a further delay. However, the implementation of the NCAP is expected to help improve this issue. Now, India is particularly vulnerable to climate change impact and is exposed to growing water stress also, like storms, floods and other extreme weather events. Now, what were the recommendations of the concerned authorities here? Like adaptation and resilience of the energy system to these extreme climate conditions should be a higher political priority. Furthermore, the energy sector is a large water user. As India's energy demand continues to grow, the government should ensure that energy planning takes into account the water energy nexus as well as future space cooling needs also. So these were the recommendations which can bring improvement. Also, there is further positive part into this is that India has made important progress towards meeting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, notably Goal 7 on delivering energy access. The major programs target industry and business, relying on large-scale public procurement of efficient products such as LEDs and the use of tradable energy efficiency certificates. Now, based on current policies, India's energy demand could be double by 2040, the pace by which this consumption is going on, with electricity demand potentially tripling as a result of increased appliance ownership and cooling needs. So without significant improvement in energy efficiency, India will need to add massive amount of power generation capacity to meet demand from the 1 billion or even more than 1 billion air conditioning units the country is expected to have by 2050. Now we'll cover the next very important part, which is energy economics, role of research and development and Make in India. That is a very important campaign going on, has been focused very much in the country these days. Energy research, development and deployment, in short RD&D, can be a strong enabler of India's energy policy goals while also contributing to a broader national priorities such as the Make in India Manufacturing Initiative. Through the initiative, the government is working to attract global companies to produce the solar photovoltaics, lithium batteries, solar charging infrastructure and other advanced technologies in India. India could benefit from integrating RD&D priorities with broader energy policy goals. Adopting an overreaching energy RD&D strategy would provide a framework for coordinating the widespread activities of ministries that are engaged in directing, performing and funding energy RD&D, which is research, development and deployment. It would also support the engagement of private and public industry actors. Such an endeavor would benefit from the consistent collection and monitoring of energy RD&D data. So this is how it can help the Make in India campaign, which is majoring or focusing on the manufacturing sector of the country, and in a way focusing on strengthening the backbone of the country, reducing the overall support dependence on another country. These are a few sources that I used for gathering information. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you are studying well, keeping well. So just keep learning, and if you like this video, you can simply click the like button. Also, to get notified for the further videos, you can subscribe to the channel, get the notification bell on,